One thing that stands out to me from this reading about the story of leadership is how leadership has evolved over time. I think that leaders and leadership, the views on leadership itself, just how people have evolved over time to their surroundings, so have those views and on leadership and everything. Um, I think for society to be successful, there has to be some sort of leadership role present, and or else there won't be anyone or anything that's pushing the society to reach new heights and new levels. I think that's pretty prevalent in the story of the Maori tribe and the Maori tribe, where one of the tribes had they had more defined leadership roles, and they were more advanced in society because of those defined leadership roles, and the other society wasn't really advanced, and they more like had just they consulted with each other, and that's why were conquered. I think that's a main reason. The main reason for that is because they didn't have leadership roles. Um, Even though I think leadership roles are important, I think there's different ways to lead, and one of the ways that I liked that that was talked about in the reading was the Tao Te Ching. It says they presented a paradox of a leader who suffers, who displays strength through weakness, who chooses to be last, and through that stands first, who unselfishly serves others. I really like that because at the end of the day, I think a leader is supposed to do what's good for the majority of the people and not for himself, and do what would ultimately um, help the community achieve new heights. At the same time, I think that sort of leadership can sometimes be taken advantage of by the people because of it's such a passive style of leadership. So I think there has to be a good balance between leading like that and leading with authority, because when there's in times of need, you have to be self-confident and have the authority to lead others and direct others in what needs to be done to succeed. I think over time, most leaders let the power get to their head, and they don't choose to just lead by authority. And it talks about it that that's not always effective, because even the son of Solomon, when he tried to lead with just straight authority, the people chose not to be led, because at the end of the day, the people that you're leading have to choose to be led or not. And when they chose not to be led, they basically almost killed him and stoned his general to death. And that's one of the reasons why I feel like you have to be able to relate to the people at the same time while being authoritative. Um, One thing I'm learning about the history and the development of leadership thought is that there hasn't really been a defined thought of leadership throughout time. I think that most of throughout the history of time, most leaders have strived to be like Machiavelli, where they just enforce their power. But I don't believe that that's always the best thing to do. But as Plato said, I think leaders are born. But I do think that people with certain qualities can be shown how to lead. Um, but I think that there's just some people that are born to lead and some people who aren't. And I feel like that results from a fear of failure. For example, in baseball, normally the captains of the team are people with veteran status that have been through tough times and have experienced lows and gotten through it, because of the fact that you can trust them and know that when it gets rough, they won't break. And I think that when certain individuals, they are just comfortable with being led because they don't want all the responsibility and they don't know how to handle all the responsibility that comes with being a leader and that leadership role. And I think that's when Plato said leaders are born, that is also true.